This week I thought I'd talk about screaming, hawks screaming, and that was from a comment that someone asked me, how do you stop a hawk screaming? Well, that is a very big question, great question, and I'm just going to give a few of my ideas across, although it's a big subject and there's so much in that, and sort of fairly difficult to, it can be a little bit difficult to answer it in a precise way. So a Harris hawk makes various noises. So the scream or the call. So a call is a way that a youngster gets its parent to acknowledge that it's hungry. So a baby cries. Most little baby animals have got various ways to get their parent to feed. So let me try and discuss the noises a hawk makes, a Harris hawk. You've got the call, and you've got this little chatter now, if you can hear it, where the hawk's basically talking to me, and he is actually saying, I'm not happy, what's going on. It's just this little chatter he's got, which he does when I pick him up from his aviary, from his mews. He'll talk to me just like that, and at the moment he's looking around a little bit unsettled, because we don't normally sit here like this, so he's doing this little chatter. I don't know if you can hear that. Woody, can you hear that little chatter? So that's the speak, what I call the speak. There's another thing he does when we're out hunting. This noise is a certain type of noise that he does when he knows there is a rabbit or some sort of game, his prey, within reach of him, but he can't quite get it. So he's got this noise what he lets me know. So that's 3 sounds. There's another little noise he does which is like a baby tweet, and that is with food. So occasionally there's a bit of food he wants to get to. For some reason I haven't quite given it to him in time. It could be when we're out hunting. So there's this little tweet he does, and that's like a baby tweet. And the last one is this, what I call the scream, or warning scream, and this he'll do if there's a dog, someone he's not keen on, anything that he's not happy with. At the moment I think he's a little bit nervous of this brolly moving here, so he's just doing that little sound he's making now. So the question was, how can you stop a hawk screaming? Well, this is only my opinion, but I would say if you want to try and eliminate any screaming, but let's talk about the scream or the call. The Harris hawk call may start once they get down to flying weight, and it could be 5 little calls in little groups, and they may do that occasionally or persistently all day long, which you could call hawks that screams. If you've got neighbours it could be a bit tiresome. The good thing about the Harris hawk is that continuous call, or the call, if you're lucky, is only when the weight is at flying weight, which is generally during the winter. So come the summer months like now, Woody's at full fat weight and he's quiet. This hawk is quiet anyway. He's 4 years old. When I first had him in the first season, he was calling quite regularly for food, but not excessively. So what can we do? Well, the first thing I would say is talking about breeders of these hawks. So most breeders are top notch, they know what they're doing. Where I got this one from, he would not let me take this hawk until he was at the correct age. So if if there's a breeder that says, yeah, you can take the hawk when you like, you could end up with the hawk imprinting on you, and then they see you as the parent and will start calling for food. But if they're completely parent reared like this one was, 19 weeks when I got this one, that is a good time. So he's completely parent reared, and he wasn't looking at me as a parent, and he certainly wasn't, then he didn't get imprinted on me. But this hawk still does call. It's very difficult to eliminate that once it starts. If it starts, it's just the way it is. So there's one possible reason, is a breeder may let you have the hawk. A breeder may let you have the hawk too early. A decent breeder will tell you you can't have the hawk until a certain time. As I say, mine was 19 weeks. The other thing is, if a breeder has incubated eggs, this is probably to produce a more guaranteed amount of hawks. They may have been hand fed for a short time, but that hand feeding could be longer to guarantee more numbers to sell. I'm not saying people are going to do this. My mate that breeds Merlins is extremely careful at that stage. If he does any feeding, he does it quick and he gets them back with the parent. And some breeders will leave the eggs with the parents and they don't see a human whatsoever. Then they don't see any humans at all, and that's completely parent reared. So there's a couple of factors, in my opinion: getting the hawk too early, and has the breeder instilled a little bit of sort of imprinting in the fact that the hawk looks for the food. So you could have parent reared, you could have crash reared, which is all the hawks are together and food is put in there, but not so the hawks see it as coming from a human, it's just always there. Or you could have imprint. In it, obviously imprint is more chance of having a noisy hawk, but not necessarily if it's done correctly. So if you are getting a Harris hawk and you are a novice, then I would say make sure that the hawk is old enough before you get it. So certainly not before 16 weeks, say 18-19 weeks, and ask the breeder, is the hawk completely parent reared, if you are trying to eliminate any possible risk of calling. So if you can just imagine the Harris hawk sees its parent and will call for food, and you've got a little rivalry within that nest, all calling the loudest they can to get the food, because that parent, the same as we would, if your child's crying, you'll want to feed and look after and pick the child up. So the hawk calls or screams to the parent, the loudest, they get the food, they get the biggest share. So if the hawk starts to see you as a parent, they're going to start calling. Can you stop it? I don't know, but there's things you can try. So if you've got a noisy hawk during the molt, the first year that may subside, the second year and get less on the third and the fourth. So Woody is very silent now. The first year they're calling quite a lot, that's sort of fairly natural, and he was calling when we were out, this young sound. Second year it dropped off and now he's silent. But when I bring his weight back down again, you will get these little calls, usually sort of 5 little calls in a row, in a gap, and then he might see me again and do it again. So other things you can do to eliminate that, well, so during the molt you have a chute in the side of your mews, and you've got to try to put food in there and not let the hawk see you put it in there, to try to make the hawk realise or not realise that you're feeding it. But I will say that these Harris hawks are so clever, it doesn't take them long to work things out. There's various ways you can do things, but even when you're out flying, you're feeding the hawk. They know you're feeding it. You've got betchings in your pouch, and you're putting them in your hand and calling the hawk down, and he knows that you're feeding him. You could try and do it so he doesn't know where it's coming from, but they will soon work it out. They know exactly what's going on. So this hawk knows I feed it. So what I do now is I don't worry too much about it, because I know what he's like. I know if he calls a little bit, it doesn't matter. My neighbours don't mind. And during the summer, when people are in the garden, he's quiet anyway. He's like he is now. Yeah. So he's not hungry at the moment, sitting here, but in a minute I'll put him on his perch and I'll give him a bit of food. So what else could we try to do if your hawk is calling? What I try to do to eliminate calling, I'll get my hawk out, I'll weigh my hawk, I'll put the hood on him, and then I'll take him out away from the garden, put food in my glove, and then remove his hood. That's if we're not flying. That's one way of doing it. Does it work? I don't actually think it does, because Harris hawk knows that you're feeding it. I really do think if a breeder is incubated, hatched the eggs and hand fed them, and the hawks remembered that in some way, and you imagine that plus getting it too early, then you probably got a hawk that's going to call for food. They'll either do it or they won't, and if they do it, they do it. All you can hope for is in the second season or the third, it's reducing down. So just to alliterate, that call could be now and again or continuous. You see Woody's got his beak open at the moment. That's because he's not too keen sitting here, and it's a bit warm. Okay, to sum all that up, if you're trying to have a hawk that doesn't call, make sure the breeder is not letting you have the hawk too early, especially if you're new to it. Try to wait sort of 18 weeks, but over 16 weeks certainly, maybe 18 weeks, 19 weeks. The longer the breeder has the hawk, the more they have to look after him, so obviously they do want to get them gone. Make sure that if you can, that the breeder has definitely completely parent reared the hawk. That may help. And thirdly, once you've got your hawk trained, try to get it out and get it entered, get it catching its own food, so that way it's not sort of looking at you for food. But as I said earlier, they're very clever, these hawks anyway. They know whether they're going to catch the food, they know that you're taking them, they know that you've got food in your pouch. They'll come down and try and get food almost out of your pouch if the weight's too low. It's quite a big open subject, calling hawk. There can be so much to it. It really is difficult to put your finger on what exactly can you do. But that's just a few of my ideas to think about, and I would say the first two are the biggest, is getting your hawk too early, and is it fully parent reared? Great question, but sort of can be difficult to answer. But it is interesting knowing the sort of five different sounds that my hawk makes. So for me, I'm flying most days, pretty much every day. So this hawk's not left in this garden calling all day long anyway. I come home and we're out. You don't know what your hawk's doing when you're not there. I pull up on my driveway, and as soon as this hawk hears me at flying weight, I can hear him call. But I'll come out here and he won't call anymore. He just might do that one call when he first hears me. It's like a little instinct. And occasionally through the day he might do that little 5 little chirps. But certainly if you've got a hawk that's calling in the first year, it's very possible that it will drop off as time goes on. And if your hawk is noisy, then the time through that molt, it may sort of forget a little bit. So feed it through the chute, try not to let it see you feeding it, and you've just got to try them things. But because my hawk's quiet, I don't mind feeding it through the molt the way I do. This particular hawk, they're all going to be different. So what you see me doing with mine might not be the thing to do with yours. So let's pop him on his perch now, and I'm going to give him a little bit of his favourite food, which is day-old cockerel. Yesterday he had a lovely piece of pigeon, and his weight is sort of on the top end of fat weight at the moment, so he may not even eat his cockerels. And looking at him now, he's got that little bit of nervousness around him, beaks open, because we're sitting here like this, and he's not really at his most comfortable. So Woody's now on his familiar perch, beak's closed. He's having a little look round. I'm going to give him one of these lovely bits of chicken and see if he'll take it. I'm not sure whether he will or not. As I say, a nice bit of pigeon yesterday. During this warm weather, I quite often put his food in water, just to give him a little bit more water in the body. They take moisture in with food, although they do drink as well out if they need it, but a lot of their moisture is taken through food. So soaking these little bits of chicken in water for 5 minutes enables a bit more water to get on board anyway in the hot weather. Here is our chute. Put food in there. I use this stick just to poke it in, but like I say, Woody knows I'm feeding him. And fortunately he's good. had enough. So there's just a little bit of food for thought on my thoughts on how to stop a hawk screaming, calling. And thanks for watching, and hopefully we'll see you again soon. Sound. So something is there. Joe, get in there. You alright, Woody? See you next time, Woody, eh?